and he's a master. If you go to Jim Cook and you say, Jim, I'd like to buy one of your pipes, Jim will say, okay, you can order one. I'll have it ready for you in 2.5 years. And there's no BS to this. I mean, it takes 2.5 years to get a Jim Cook pipe, and that's the bottom end pipe. If you want, you know, a classier one or a higher level one, it's going to take you more than 2.5 years. Sand carving is distinctly different than sand blasting, and I guess that's what we're here to talk about. So I got to tell you this. I'm going to just get right to it. This is a sand blasting gun, and you guys, why don't you come on up here, and because you'll see things better this way. If you come on up here, I'll show you some stuff. If you take a look at this gun, I'm going to pass it around amongst you. Okay, look at the hole in that. Okay, when a sand carver starts out, they blast the pipe. The difference between carving and blasting is this, basically. Sand blasting is a relief of the surface of the pipe. What it does is it takes the soft grain away from the pipe and it leaves the hard grain. So when you use this big hole in this gun, you're blasting a lot of CFMs at that. Okay, this pipe here is an example of really excellent relief in sandblasting. If you look at it, you can see the grain in the pipe. So I'm going to pass this around. Take a good look at this. You can notice the difference.
If that was smooth, that would be straight grain. That's a straight grain blast.
And all that happened with that was the gun was used. It relieved the soft grain in there, and it left the hard grain, which is raised, and that's what you're seeing. And look at the way the lines. What's important is to look at how the lines go on that pipe and how they form on the pipe. The ring grain, there's ring grain on that pipe. There's straight grain. There's bird's eye. The whole thing, and there's nothing perfect there. That's a key point. There's nothing perfect on it. And you may like it, you may not. It doesn't really matter. But we're trying to make a point here. Okay. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to start here. This is a sand carved pipe that was relieved first with this gun. And then what was used, and what the sand carvers use, is this apparatus. Now, all this is a way so I don't lose this point, because it's a very expensive point. But look at the hole in that point compared to the one you just looked at. Okay, now that's hooked up to a pencil blaster, just the same size as this pencil here. Okay, and it's pressurized. To do the blast that you see here, that's probably an hour max. To do what you're seeing in this pipe, the sand carve, is probably 8 hours. And some of the sand carvers spend 10 and 15 hours on a pipe. And that's why you get the carpal tunnel syndrome and so forth. And they're using a jeweler's loop and so forth. And there's a big difference in it.
How much pressure is it like?
Okay, it depends upon what you're doing. If you're sand carving, you probably got 130 psi on it. If you're blasting to start off with, you probably start with 100 or 110, and then you drop to 90, and you might even drop down as far as 80 if you're aware of sand blasters. Here's another pipe that's sand blasted, and it's just what you need to think about when you're talking about sand blasting versus sand carving is that sand blasting is just that. You blast the pipe. It's blasted, and it just blows the soft grain out, and it shows you what like Robbie just said, what the grain is on the pipe. And you can take a look at it, and you can enhance it a bit with this big gun, but you're not going to do do the same thing with this small one. Okay, when you start working with this small gun, what happens is eventually you round off the sharp points on here. Okay, so has everybody seen this example, so you know what I'm talking about? That's a good one, and this is a good one. There's sharp points on the grain as it follows the grain. Now what a sand carver will tell you is, I follow the grain, okay? Now, take a look, here's another sand carving pipe. Pass this one around. And you can see the rounded edges on these. It makes a big difference, and if you hold the two of them in your hand, I mean, it just tells you an awful lot of what's going on. What I'm trying to say is, this is an art, and some of us like sand carving, some of us like sand blasting, some of us like smooths, but we need to recognize it. And we need to recognize it as an art. This pipe, I do not sand carve pipes, by the way. So, and personally, I like to sand blast better. But I did this one, and I started sand carving it just so that I can show everybody what happens. And what happens with this pipe, you can see the grain still. Okay, it isn't hidden, it isn't deep enough to be carved, but you can see how it's rounded more. Now it's a pretty pipe, but the grain started to round. And when I say grain, again, I'm talking about the lines here, okay, and how they go. Big difference. Now, here's another example of sandblasting. This is a Peter Hessian pipe, and this is the way the Danes do it. It's just brushed. Instead of an hour that one maybe took, or an hour and a half, this one probably took 20 minutes or 40 minutes. And it's just and that's the way that Dunhill started out doing it. Here's another quick brush on a pipe. Now the other thing that dictates what happens with the pipe is the briar itself. Okay, so some blocks of briar will come up, are cut with what they call a plateau, which is what this is. This is a plateau top. Excuse me. And that becomes, almost always, that'll be straight grain. There'll be more straight grain in that. Or you get a cross cut, which is like this one. This is a cross cut, and it changes the grain. Now you can see it's harder to get a cross cut to get relief. Remember what I said about relief in sandblasting, okay? That's what you're trying to get. When you blast the pipe, you relieve the soft wood, okay? This one is a cross cut. Which one? Well, that's totally debatable too, Sam, because I mean, some people swear that the cross cut gives you a better smoke, and why? Because they say that the grain is more open because it goes this way. So you've got, instead of everything going up like this, so that your cells in the briar are up here, what they say is when it's cross cut and comes across this way, the cells come out, you got more surface for them to come out. Now, I don't think I explained this. I was talking to a couple guys here earlier, and they were asking about if it's true that it's a cooler smoke to have a sandblast. And I'm here to tell you, in my opinion, it is. And it's a mega difference because of more surface. Now when I told you I smoked for 43 years, I smoked pipes. And I've sat there and thought, when these guys are talking about it, I'm saying, oh, come on, the pipe gurus, the guys that never carved a pipe in their life, and they're talking about it's smooth and it's smoother smoke and it's cooler and so forth. But you want to know something? I think it is. What I was telling these gentlemen was that I have a personal pipe at home that's a poker. It's a tall pipe like this, just exactly like this. And it was straight grain and smooth here. And I had a little bit of rustication on the bottom. And I would smoke that pipe and I get to the bottom and it was cool all of a sudden. Up here it's hot. So I decided, okay, I'm going to rusticate it a little bit more. And where I rusticate it, it's cool. And I'd rusticate a little bit more, and it's cool. That pipe is now totally rusticated because it's that much cooler. I mean, I couldn't touch it in some spots. It would get so hot. I'm a hot smoker. But cool, absolutely cool. So it makes a big difference.